The building is dark except for the rectangle of your screen. Lights off, inbox on. The office hum falls to a pulse and the congrats pings arrive like alarms you can't disable. Your new title sits in the subject lines like a crown worn from other hands. You scroll, smile back, type thank yous that sound almost true, and watch your chest tighten a notch with each reply. You should feel bigger. Instead, the room feels taller and thinner, as if the air added stairs. Every rung has a rent. You pay in availability, in being the one who knows, in being the one who must pretend to know when you don't. Status buys introductions and enlarges the stage. It also quietly drafts your evenings and mortgages your sleep. Status is an external credit line. It extends what the world will lend you. Power is internal cash flow. Attention, judgment, boundaries, the liquid you control. One can rise while the other runs dry. Machiavelli arrives not as a villain, but as a clear-eyed therapist of power. He would ask what you actually hold, versus what the crowd has lent you for as long as you perform their story. He would point at the crown and then at your breath. He'd suggest you strengthen the treasury before promising the city fireworks. He'd say, make friends with reality and it will pay dividends. The tension is a familiar bargain, applause now or agency later. The inbox offers warmth on contact. Your calendar quietly converts it into debt. Agency is colder at first, fewer instant smiles, more deliberate pace, but it returns something you can spend tomorrow. Hours that obey you, decisions you can defend, a pulse that survives pressure. Close the laptop a fraction. Feel the room. There's one sentence that cools a crowded room. Later, the first week feels like bright weather. The new title opens doors that used to stick. Names you once chased now chase you. Meetings multiply. You are looped in, copied, needed on thread. Praise arrives on contact. A problem escalates, and with one message, people jump. Status gives access, speed, deference, and the sugar high of being the answer. You move faster. You sleep lighter. Then the bill begins to gather without announcing itself. Less time for real work. More rooms where you must have a view before you have a thought. Your calendar hardens. Your afternoons vanish under other people's urgency. You keep your face arranged while your mind tries to keep a promise to your craft. The fatigue is not confusion. It is the body learning the price list. Call it status spread. Rewards arrive now. Costs compound quietly. Every extra channel increases exposure. Every borrowed audience creates dependence. Every yes made to keep momentum becomes a small debt carried by tomorrow's attention. The spread widens until evenings feel encumbered and mornings feel leased. You are performing the role that bought you time by spending the time it bought. You are not weak. You are under invisible incentives. The system tips you toward visibility over value, reaction over reading, image over judgment. It trains you to answer first and think later. The exhaustion you feel is intelligent. It knows you cannot collect both every compliment and the concentrated hours that build signal. Borrowed shine fades. Built signal endures. Shine is a spotlight someone else controls. Signal is the quiet weight of outcomes that repeat, because they were made on ground that holds. Shine asks for more of you to stay bright. Signal asks for fewer, truer moves. He was a civil servant before he was a legend. Ink on fingers, eyes on courts, learning how rooms tilt when power enters. He watched favorites rise on smiles, fall on whispers, and he wrote not to impress princes, but to survive them. The pages are cooler than gossip and warmer than doctrine. They read like a field manual for people who must move through crowds without losing the ability to think. His first principle is blunt without being cruel. Appearances are levers. Dependence is danger. Reputation is a handle others can pull. Independence is the hand that still works when the handle breaks. If your standing rests on borrowed light, you will spend your days feeding the lamp. If your work produces its own heat, You can afford weather and wait out fashion. Picture the favorite who confuses access with safety. They sit near the center, answer first, laugh on cue, and become fluent in the ruler's mood. For a while the hallway parts for them. Then a storm shifts. A new advisor arrives. A rumor learns to walk. The favorite discovers the difference between being inside and being held. Doors stay open but eyes don't. Their calendar remains crowded while their control dissolves. What is given can be taken. What is built, bargained. This is not cynicism. It is the mercy of clear sight. Gifts are welcome. Reliance is a leash. Use favor to buy time for craft. Spend proximity on outcomes that still work when the room forgets your name. Trade a little shine for a lot of leverage. Machiavelli's mirror asks one question. Which part of your authority survives when applause pauses? A 2-minute test will reveal whether you're hunted by praise. We'll run it tonight quietly, before you answer the next task in any room. Living in a glass house changes your walk. You angle your shoulders for better optics. Rehearse smiles for a passing glance. Weigh every sentence for headlines that might never exist. Lights are always on, even at noon. You hear your own footsteps as if they were public statements. The mind swaps craft for surveillance. The nervous system spends its best hours proofreading the self. Visibility brings a strange safety theater. To look safe, you move safely, stalling risk, decorating caution, polishing updates instead of building outcomes. You measure decisions by how they'll read, not how they'll work. And the work notices. Risk aversion becomes a creed. Decision paralysis feels like responsibility. You're performing prudence while momentum quietly expires. Truthful execution has fewer adjectives and more load-bearing nouns. It asks for small bets you can learn from, clear edges, and the pace that keeps judgment intact. It means a sentence like, "We'll ship 2 features well and publish why," instead of a paragraph that leaves every door ajar. It feels colder at first because silence follows honesty. Then the warmth lasts longer, because results warm rooms better than reassurance. Respect does not track the number of eyes on you. It tracks whether you choose tempo. When you regulate pace, hands stop waving. When you lower breath, voices lower with it. The one who carries a metronome earns trust over the one who narrates every move. People lean towards steady weather. They organize themselves around it because it saves them time. If the glass has made you timid, forgive the instinct. It once kept you safe. Then try an hour with the curtains half drawn. Fewer updates, one decision finished, no applause requested. Notice which muscles unclench. We'll test this in a conversation soon. Watch who leans in. Bring your breath. We'll measure what matters next. The week you finally get momentum, a peer greets you with a smile that doesn't reach the floor. Great work, loop me in. Meetings multiply, approvals lengthen, and your launch begins to collect soft delays. Nothing overt, just friction that feels like velvet. You keep being gracious while the calendar extracts interest. One afternoon you realize the smile has become a gate, and the key sits in someone else's pocket. Envy is pain at another's rising options. It calculates future leverage and tries to narrow it before it solidifies. The envier doesn't always want your seat. They want the world where you can choose. So they slow choices, widen committees, question timing, and speak about alignment the way fog speaks about the road. It feels like fairness. It works like sand. Machiavelli's advice travels well. Limit unnecessary enemies. Convert a few. Ignore most. Do not feed circles that harvest drama. Do not prescribe public medicine for private motives. Spend favor on structure, clear ownership, crisp definitions of done, paper that remembers when memory becomes convenient. Make your moves legible to outcomes, not to applause. Move in silence. Ship outcomes, not announcements. Replace big reveal energy with weekly artifacts that stand on their own. Working builds, resolved risks, dates that hold. The less you broadcast intent, the less you borrow resistance in advance. You are not hiding. You are keeping oxygen for the fire. Detection can be simple. Watch for smiles that volunteer oversight, for questions that expand scope but not responsibility, for delays that arrive wearing the word alignment. Notice who accelerates when evidence appears and who accelerates only when cameras do. Keep notes. Keep pace. Protect momentum with quiet edges. Let results translate. When heat spikes, you'll need 8 words to drain the room without a scene. We'll place them soon. The week fills with immaculate slides and decisions that dodge themselves. You polish decks like mirrors, rehearse sentences for rooms that love posture, and spend afternoons arranging alignment that produces no motion. The calendar looks heroic, dense, colorful, full. Use a simpler model. Optics hours versus leverage hours. Optics hours keep you photographed. Updates, posture, and polishing the same sentence until it can't carry weight. Leverage hours move the future, clarifying one real choice, writing the doc that makes meetings smaller, building the thing that reduces 10 asks to 1 link. Optics feel thrilling. Leverage feels quiet and heavy, like placing a stone others can step on. Here is relief. Your slowness is craftsmanship, not laziness. Taking longer to think is how you prevent longer to fix. The hour you spend naming the problem in clear terms buys back 4 hours of theater next week. The day you protect for deep work makes 9 status slides evaporate because the artifact speaks without captions. Before you say yes to anything, tally the exchange rate. Will this spend optics hours or create leverage hours? Does it shrink the future's calendar or decorate today's? If the answer smells like costume, step back. Next, a small ritual to return to leverage before you answer. 2 minutes, 3 moves, and a doorway you can carry into any room. We'll use it soon. The day starts before the noise, a small lamp making a circle on your desk. Steam curls from a mug. You take a blank card and write 1 word across the top. Ledger. The paper looks ordinary and already feels heavier than your calendar. You sit the way a harbor sits, quiet and ready to count what matters. 3 moves simple enough to keep. First, name the aim. Not 5, not 3, 1. What outcome, if advanced by an inch today, would make tomorrow cheaper? Write it in plain language, you would say to a friend. Circle it once. Let your breath lengthen around it. Second, count the cost. List the tolls that status tries to hide. A sink that eats an hour. A deck that replaces a decision. A thread that keeps you performing certainty. Put a small number beside each. Minutes, not virtue. See how applause now becomes debt later. Third, choose the smallest leverage act. A paragraph that makes a meeting unnecessary. A prototype link that settles an argument. A clear owner added to a messy doc. 1 stone placed where others can step. Do the first 10 minutes now before the world wakes enough to distract you from your own authority. Whisper a line the card will remember. Build cash flow of competence. Rent status only when needed. Feel your shoulders drop as the room decides what belongs to it and what belongs to you. Let the mug warm your palm. Let the lamp hum. Time stretches just enough to fit intention. When the pings begin, glance at the card. If an ask doesn't feed the ledger, it can wait or shrink. If it feeds it, you'll feel the gravity. Work returns to weight. Noise returns to weather. The meeting starts with a slide about perception. Headlines, dashboards, possible press. Voices brighten as if the work were a camera. Someone suggests a visibility sprint. You feel the ledger card in your pocket and the dock under your feet. 1 breath, shoulders level. You bring the room back to ground with a line that doesn't scold. Fact. Last release shipped a week late. Pens pause. 1 metric. Retention on the users who got the fix, 7-day stick. Faces turn toward the table. 1 next action. Lock scope to the 2 features that move stick. Publish a brief explaining why. No speech, just rails. The room tilts toward your tempo. A product lead opens the tracker. An engineer surfaces a dependency hiding in the glitter. The comms person nods, relieved to have language with teeth. The slide about perception looks suddenly decorative. Heat lifts and leaves. Your cadence sets the metronome and the meeting starts breathing again. Questions come slower now. What if we lose buzz? Buzz doesn't compound. Trust does. You are not performing authority. You are spending it on results. The oxygen you return to the room becomes thinking. People volunteer ownership because the path is walkable. You summarize once short as a blueprint. 2 features: quality gate intact, brief out by Thursday, report stick Monday. This is power without performance, pace chosen, scope clarified, outcomes owned. Gravity belongs to those with pace. Rooms rotate around steadiness they can use. Status is satisfied enough to stop stealing hours, and the work becomes the loudest thing present. You send one note after the meeting, dates, owners, definition of done, and the chatter dies on contact. Keep this exact rhythm. When heat spikes and talk runs theatrical, we'll use a single sentence that cools a room on arrival. 8 words on an exhale. Here's the line, small enough to carry and strong enough to stand in heat. Let's slow to facts and next steps. Say it like you're straightening a picture frame, not swinging a hammer. Brief, neutral, repeatable. It doesn't accuse or defend. It organizes. Use it in stand-ups, kitchens, chats, boardrooms, anywhere breath is thin and theater is cheap. Picture the stand-up unraveling. Updates blur. A rumor flares. A question arrives sharpened into a jab. Pulses stack. Eyes look for a villain. You breathe to the floor and set the frame. Let's slow to facts and next steps. Oxygen returns. A developer names the failing tests. Another proposes a rollback behind a flag. The sharpest voice lowers because clarity doesn't compete. No one is shamed. The work is fed. Authority is the quiet that survives pressure. It steadies hands without spectacle. The sentence borrows its strength from your exhale and hands the moment back to evidence and action. Use it early and you avoid rescue. Use it late and you still save time. Machiavelli would approve the posture. Appear steady, be steady, move the result. Reputation rides the surface. Outcomes anchor below. When you regulate pace, eyes follow work instead of faces. Your calm becomes the room's metronome, and urgency remembers its seat. Write the line at the top of agendas. Keep it on a sticky note, a lock screen, a first slide. Speak it gently, then wait. With repetition, people arrive pre-organized, bringing facts before friction. With repetition, your body learns the short road from sting to stance. Repetition turns posture into culture, and culture into days that finish clean. 8 words, 1 breath, and a room that remembers its purpose. Use it today and again tomorrow, until the weather keeps your rhythm on its own. That is quiet authority kept. Days begin to feel clean again. Fewer announcements, clearer mornings, and the quiet satisfaction of work that holds. You stop narrating progress and start compounding competence. Decisions written once that remove 10 meetings. Documents that travel without you. Teammates who grow taller because your pace is human. The calendar looks less like theater and more like scaffolding. You show up to build, not to be seen building. Return to the night office. The same inbox glows, but your breath doesn't sprint toward it. Congratulations still arrive. You answer some, let most rest. Titles sound like weather. Outcomes feel like ground. You treat status as signal to borrow, not a life to rent. The room no longer tilts when others cheer or fall silent. Your hands belong to the task that will matter when the lights go out. Keep a gentle charge. Before you reply, glance at the ledger card. Name the aim, count the cost, choose the smallest leverage act. Before you decide, slow to pace you can defend tomorrow. Before you sleep, let the day hand back what it borrowed from your nerves. Build the cash flow of competence and pay for rank only when the work needs a passport. This is an inner republic. Hours governed, attention taxed fairly, borders marked by values you actually keep. You can admire applause and still negotiate with it. You can move through rooms and not be moved off your ground. People adjust